and welcome to all my Flosstube neighbors. Oh, goodness. I'm Chris, and this is XrossStitch, and today is Tuesday, January the 30th, 2024, and this is Flosstube number 70, and I am tickled because that took me 5 times to get right. I hope that you're having a great day wherever you are. If you are a new viewer, welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. I have a lot of new subscribers and you are most welcome. This is a channel primarily about cross-stitching, but we have a lot of fun here at XrossStitch, and there's more than just cross-stitching. There's stories and all kind of shenanigans. And you are welcome, and I'm so glad to have you here. If you are a returning viewer, you are the neighbors of my neighborhood. You are my friends and extended family all over the country and the globe, and I'm so happy to have you taking some time out of your day to spend with me. If you're brand new to this channel, I hope you like it enough to subscribe and ring the bell and do all the things that one does when one finds a new Flosstuber that they hopefully like. So, welcome. Boy, we had a lot of fluffy snow over the past few days. We are fully into a New Hampshire winter, and I am loving it. We actually a couple of nights ago, it was not completely fluffy. It was just above freezing, and it rained, and that made everything, all the trees and all the vegetation, you know, damp, wet, and then the temperature dropped and it snowed all night long. So what in effect happened was everything stuck in different ways, and it's a new kind of snow experience for us here. And you wake up and it's just, you think it's, you've seen one winter wonderland, and then you wake up and it's completely different. It's just magical, and I love it. This is indeed my first New England winter. I was warned about it by everyone, everyone that after, when we moved here, everyone said, have you been through a winter yet? And we said no, but we're loving it, and we couldn't be happier here. I bring up the fact that it is my first winter here because Pam of Just Keep Stitching had that question. Yes, Pam, it is my first winter in New Hampshire, and the reason I bring that up is because I have to thank both Pam and Stephanie of the wonderful Flosstube channel, Just Keep Stitching. I know all of you know of them. They shouted me out as part of their silver and gold segment in their last video. I could not be more honored and touched. They, to me, are, the gold standard of Flosstube. They were one of the very first ones that I found, and I consider them the pulse of Flosstube. So to be mentioned by them is high praise indeed, and I'm very, very grateful. So thank the both of you. Pam and Steph, I do appreciate it so very much. Lots of cross-stitching today, so let's get to it. I had my first 2 finishes of 2024 over the past couple of weeks, and they were both ornaments, both Mill Hill ornaments, and they actually enabled me to complete one of my Whip Go calls for January. Actually, I completed both of my Whip Go calls for January, but we'll get to that in a second. The first completion of 2024 was Mill Hill's Celestial Sleigh. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I am working on ornaments for both Halloween and Christmas. I'm going to have a Halloween tree this year. I didn't have one last year. And I did have all of my cross-stitch ornaments on one of my Christmas trees this year, but I want more. I want one day to have a tree full of cross-stitching. And so I'm progressively working towards that throughout this year. So on my Whip Go board many, many times this year, I have complete 2 ornaments instead of 1. I'm going to do an ornament a month for sure, but there are certain Whip Go months that I need to complete 2. And January was one of them, and February is going to be 2 because I drew that one anyway. But Celestial Sleigh was just beautiful to stitch on. I love blue. It's my favorite color if you haven't already figured that out. And this one was quite enjoyable to do. This one was a very quick stitch. This one stitched up in no time, not many colors, and not a tremendous amount of beading. So that one was completed, I think, in 2 or 3 days, 3 or 4 days maybe. But the next one, the Evergreen Sleigh, which was my second finish of 2024, my second start and finish of 2024, so much beading. So much beading. Just be prepared when you get ready to do this one that you're going to be beading longer than you are stitching. But man, is it beautiful. And that little Westie in the front of that sleigh is just as cute as he can be, and so are the birds. I really enjoyed stitching on them. I love stitching these ornaments on the perforated paper. It gives you such a feeling of accomplishment and completion. And, you know, they're not necessarily easy. Beading, once you get the hang of it, is not that complex. But you have to take your time and be careful as you go. But when you finish one, you feel very good about what you've done. And I really loved doing these two. I enjoyed them very, very much. I think for February, I'm definitely going to move on and stitch some Halloween ornaments just to give myself a break from the sleds for a while, the sleighs for a while. The reason I went ahead and did a second mill hill is because I didn't receive the black perforated paper for my Halloween ornaments. So that's why I already had them, so I went ahead and pulled one out and stitched it up too. But those are two lovely finishes and completion of a Whip Go call for January, so I'm very happy about that. My second Whip Go call for January was to complete 5 days on the gorgeous Modern Folk Embroideries The Fruits of Plenty. I had only completed a day or so 2 weeks ago when I did my video, but I put the full 5 days in, and you can see that I've gotten a lot further. As of right now, I've completed the January block and the February block in total. This was going to be part of a year-long stitch-along that my friend Kathy from To Dye House, the Flosstube channel To Dye House, and I started last year under the hashtag Still Fresh Fruit Sal. But of course, I fell out of that with my move, did not get back to it. But I've picked it back up with these 5 days for my Whip Go call, and I've fallen back in love with the piece. I want to try, if I can, to keep up with it this year. I don't know if I will, but I'm already ahead of the game because I finished January and February. If I can go ahead and finish March during February, then I'll be a month ahead, and maybe I'll get this done by the end of the year. You never know. We'll see. But at least as far as my Whip Go plans, I've completed this month. This is a beautiful piece. It's a fan favorite. Many of you love this one. I love this one, that Delft blue. And I love the way the variegation is working out with the mixing of those two colors as I work through it. It's just a delight to stitch on. You have to pay attention, but it's wonderful. And I'm very happy that I completed my goal for this month. And I'm going to keep stitching on that. I want to fill out the rest of the March block for sure before I put it away. But you may see it again. You never know. Fruits of Plenty, Modern Folk Embroidery. Sometimes when I'm doing the Invisalign thing right now, and sometimes when you take them out so that you can talk at your full capacity, and then you brush your teeth, your mouth just responds with waterworks. And then you speak and you project, and it just, So the February numbers were called for Whip Go. And by the way, if you don't know what Whip Go is, I'm sure most all of you do, but of course, Jessie at Jessie Marie Does Stuff came up with this fabulous idea many years ago, and I jumped on the bandwagon shortly after starting my Flosstube. But so this is not a new thing, but man, it's a great way to kind of set priorities for yourself and tailor your stitching. I just applaud her for the idea, and I love her Flosstube, by the way, too. So if you don't know who she is, please go find her. She's wonderful. But the next two numbers were called, and in addition to 2 more ornaments to complete, I have to do 5 days on my Haid, my mini train of dreams. This is a smaller full coverage by Heaven and Earth Design with beautiful art by Spangler, cute dragons, and trains and whimsical colors. It's just wonderful and fun to stitch on. I put a day in this yesterday, and it looks a little bit scraggly from where you last saw it, because when you last saw it, it was a beautiful diagonal, but I'm working on the next diagonal, and I didn't completely get it done before filming, so it looks a little bit, you know, rough and ready, but I'm going to continue and put 5 days in on that. I'll have to admit, I'm thinking about changing up. I'm thinking about going back from diagonals to squares. I don't know. I'm still refining my full coverage technique. I've been watching different videos on it. I've been, you know, looking to see how other people do things with full coverage. This is really, I have one other full coverage started that may end up being a UFO. We'll talk about that at some point. But this one is kind of what I'm considering my trial and error piece, the Train of Dreams. And I'm learning a lot, and I'm wanting to perfect my own technique before I launch into an enormous one that I'm going to talk about next month. That I will begin in April. It's a big one, and it's fabulous, and that's all I'm going to say about it. But I'm trying to hone my technique on full coverage, and I'm doing it with Train of Dreams. I'm enjoying it. I love stitching full coverage. There's something different about it, about the way you stitch and the way you think when you're doing it. It's very interesting. I always like to shout out my friend and fellow Flosstuber, Michaela from Nadelsucht, another wonderful Flosstube channel that is in the German language because she is German. And you have subtitles, auto subtitles now, so you can watch her too, even if you don't speak German. So as always, danke Michaela, and that's the mini Train of Dreams. Pam of Just Keep Stitching came up with a wonderful idea of doing 24 starts in the year 2024. And I and many others are jumping on that bandwagon. And I was erroneously thinking that I had to rush to get a start done in the month of January. It makes sense to do 2 starts every month. And I certainly have completed that with my 2 ornament starts that I did. But actually, I've actually scheduled out some bigger pieces for these particular starts. And one of the ones that I did want to begin in January was another modern folk embroidery piece. We talked about it on the last video, and it is No Time Like the Present. Now this is Jacob's, Jacob of Modern Folk Embroidery. This is Jacob's 2024 Stitch Along. Now I'm not going to do it as the Stitch Along, and there's no way I don't do well with keeping up with Stitch Alongs. But I am definitely going to start it along with everyone else. And I expressed how I wanted to do it in silks, and I wanted to do it on a lovely small count even weave. Now, I didn't get all of my wishes come true. I'm going to be doing this on this is a 32 count. And instead of doing it over with 1 strand of floss, I'm going to be doing it 2 over 2 on a 32 count, which is fine. It's exactly the same as my Fruits of Plenty. But many of you recommended the Vicki Clayton silks. And I went to Vicki's website and I looked, and I was struggling, trying to find floss colors that match a particular rug in my foyer, which is where I want this to hang. And if you follow me on Instagram, and you should, I posted the photo, and you were all so helpful. And no one was more helpful than Vicky herself, who I boldly messaged one Saturday morning and asked for her help. And we narrowed it down to these two beautiful shades. This is quince and aquamarine, and a particular number of aquamarine. She has a few. I couldn't be happier with how they look together. And this is the gorgeous fabric on which I will stitch this. Just so beautiful. This is from Those Missing Stitches. This is an Etsy store, Those Missing Stitches. This is the fabric called Darling David. Darling David. It's a lovely, creamy parchment Lugana, and it's just beautiful, and I think it will look gorgeous with this particular pattern and these particular colors. So thank you, all of you who helped me, who recommended Vicky's silks, and who gave me that advice. I'm very excited to start this, and I will be starting this in the month of January because I'm going to start it today. You won't see it until next time, but I will start it today. It's time for story time with Chris, and today is going to be a little rough. I think that this is probably the penultimate chapter in my mother saga. And if you are new to the channel, I apologize. You are coming into a story that has been several videos in progress, but it's a story that I needed to tell and that I want to tell because my mother was glaringly missing from my first year of Flosstube, in which I told many stories about my family, and there was a reason for her omission. I didn't know if I was ever gonna talk about her, and I hadn't gotten to the point where I wanted to, if I had decided to, and I did decide to. And I'm getting it all out just so that you know. It's good for me to tell it, and I think it's good for us to tell our stories. Stories are a way that we can empathize with each other as humans. And I think it's an important thing to tell our stories, both the happy ones and the sad ones, because everyone can learn something from them. I know I do when I hear other people's stories. But today's not going to be easy, and I'm probably just going to give you facts. When Mother left, we didn't know where she was. This was not uncommon for her behavior, and some people in town weren't surprised. My grandmother and I were, because everything had been fine for so many months. Now, she and Granny were always contentious with each other. And certainly she and I had our moments of contention. Because as I said in last time, the relationship had changed dramatically. And I was a teenage boy, and she was her, and, you know. But the one thing that I had said to my mother prior to her disappearance was, whatever you do, do not leave me again until I graduate high school. Because if you did that, and then something were to happen to Granny, I don't know, I don't want to go wherever you may find yourself. And she had said that she would stay until I graduated. And then, within a short amount of time, poof, she's gone again. We didn't know where she was. She didn't have any kind of contact with us whatsoever. It got to the point, days passed, and I eventually called the authorities. Shortly after I did that, I don't know, I'm sure one of her friends in town who knew what was going on, but was not telling anyone, let her know that I had contacted the authorities. And that's when we got a phone call. She didn't tell us where she was. She didn't tell us who she was with. She just wanted us to know that she was fine. And that was good, but not enough. Long story short, and it's really stupid that she had gone, well, again, facts, not my opinion. She and a man that she had been seeing surreptitiously left. They ran away together. They just ran off together to be together, to start a new life somewhere. Problem was, Mother did some not very above board things in order to get some money to go there, to go wherever they were. And within a short amount of time, within a few weeks' time, she was found. She was brought back to Sologent and put in jail for those things that she did. And I visited her there, which was one of the most surreal things I've ever experienced in my life. And when she was released on probation, she moved to Birmingham immediately. She did not return to Sologent. And she was gone again. Within a short amount of time, she met another gentleman in Birmingham. She and he began living together. He had 2 children, middle school aged, a girl and a boy. He was divorced. He was raising them on his own. And she and he were together for about 8 to 10 years. They eventually married, but she was with him the entire time, and she helped raise those 2 children of his in Birmingham. I went to college in Birmingham. Over the course of the 4 years that I was there, I saw her 4 times, maybe 5. I was in scads of shows in the theater department. She came to 2. She left halfway through one of them. And when I finished college and was about to move to Los Angeles, I went to say goodbye to her one day at her work. And she said, "I can give you half an hour," which is exactly what I took, maybe less than. I only say this all in the manner in which I'm saying it because the relationship was gone. And I didn't deal with that. I didn't fully process that then. And I'm glad I didn't. I mean, I was young and I was headstrong and I was driven. I was different. I was different than my mother. I had my wonderful grandmother, and I had another wonderful woman in my life that I'll talk about later, named Marilyn, who shaped me into the man I am now and the young man that I was then. And that was my salvation. But Mother had long since not really regarded me. I think I brought back too many painful memories for her. I was the living symbol of a lot of her failures. I don't think I was a failure, but I think I was the symbol to her of hers. I'm going to pause there and continue this in 2 weeks' time. I went ahead and told more, but it became too long, and I want You know me, I want to package things nicely. So we're going to pause there, and in 2 weeks' time, I'll complete this. Please don't worry about me. I'm okay. And this, again, this is stuff that I have processed. I've already, you know, I'll be dealing with this the rest of my life, right? But I'm in such a good place, and I'm in such a good, you know, part of the healing is the ability to tell it. So please don't worry about me. I just thank you for listening, and I thank you for giving me a forum in which to be vulnerable and express these things. And hopefully it will, you know, in some strange way, hopefully it will lend comfort or understanding, or at the least empathy in the telling of it. So thank you. More in 2 weeks' time. I always say that this is a neighborhood, an interactive neighborhood, and that I'm not the only one responsible for this channel. And I support that wholeheartedly. And we're going to put that to the test once again today with a question from our dear neighbor and longtime XrossStitch viewer, Jane. Jane completed 2 beautiful long dog samplers. I showed them in a Neighbor's Corner segment not too terribly long ago, may have been last year, before I took my hiatus. But she finished Death by Cross Stitch and Life After Death. And she is about to fully finish those 2 pieces, and she was going to frame them. But this is the question that she wanted me to pose to all of you. Have you ever completed a long dog sampler and fully finished it other than framing? And if so, how? Have you ever completed a long dog sampler and finished it in a way other than in a frame? Let us know in the comments. Jane would certainly appreciate it, and I'm just curious to know if any of you have. One of my starts this year is going to be a long dog. I am so torn on which one to do, but I'm going to start one. I'm going to start one this year. But let Jane know. I'm interested to see what you all have to say, and I know she'll be grateful for it. And something else about our dear neighbor Jane is going to come up in the giveaway section, so stay tuned for that. It's time for part 2 of the Happy Mail / Stitchy Kindness thank yous from Christmas. And I want to send a big thank you out to Susan R., our neighbor Susan R., who was so kind to send me a gift certificate to Anabella's shop. I'm sure many of you have heard of Anabella's. She is the owner of an Etsy shop, an LNS, and has a Flosstube channel herself. All of that will be below in the show notes. But Anabella is wonderful, and I have purchased things from her previously. Lovely, lovely person. And Susan, thank you. I went and I picked out 2 beautiful charts because no chart can be shipped alone, now can it? And I used that gift certificate and found these 2 beautiful Joan Elliott designs. The first, the Snow Queen. I'll be starting this year, hopefully. Well, no, not hopefully. I will start this one this year. And then the other one, I hope to start this year as well, Santa's Gifts. 2 beautiful, larger holiday pieces, and I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you so much, Susan, and thank you, Anabella. And if you are not familiar with Anabella's shop, please do give her a gander and check out her stuff. It's just wonderful. I also received in the mail a cute thank you card from one of our neighbors, from Linda D. Thank you, Linda. This was a thank you card for a giveaway. You do not have to send me thank you cards for the giveaway gifts that I send out, but when you do, I just adore them. And I certainly adore anything with kitty cats on them. So thank you, Linda. Moving on to giveaways, I want you to know that all of the giveaways from the past several videos have gone out. They are in the mail on their way to you. Some of you may already have them. If you were an international winner, those will be coming to you. I have to do those a different way. I have to go to the counter. And I went to do it the other day and it was a mile long, so I'm going to go back this week and send those out. My Canadian winners and my one winner from Ireland. But we only had one giveaway this past week, and that was this, the Heritage Village Collection Cross-Stitch Patterns of the Dickens Village. This is a beautiful book from Department 56 that has several of the original Dickens Village houses charted. This goes to, I had everything in my notes but the name of the person who won. Peggy Martinez. Congratulations, Peggy. You are the winner of this book. Please send me your mailing address to the email address below, and I will get that in the post to you. Congratulations. This week I'm giving away 3 things, and 2 of them are the actual kits of the ornaments that I completed, the 2 sleighs that I completed. The first being Celestial Sleigh, and the keyword for that will be celestial. This comes with the chart, the extra beads that were left over, and there are plenty of them. And also in this Celestial Sleigh, it calls for a silver, well, you can't see that, but I'll tell you about it. There's a silver filament. I think it's probably Krynic, although it seems smoother than Krynic. Anyway, there were 2 lengths of it. I only used 1 for the whole thing. So there's the length of that. You won't need to get that. What this does not come with is the floss, the DMC, but it is listed on the instructions. And it doesn't have the little charm, which you can put a charm of your own on there, or you can just leave it off. It's certainly fine without the charm. The same goes for the evergreen sleigh. Well, it's just right here instead of, so you don't have to look at that shiny. The evergreen sleigh, keyword for that will be evergreen. Again, it comes with the chart, the beads, which there are plenty, and it doesn't have the floss or the charm. Again, with these, the DMC numbers are on the chart, as are the mill hill. So if you were to run out, I don't think you would, but if you did need to get some extra from mill hill, it tells you what they are. So those are 2 of the 3 giveaways, Celestial and Evergreen. And then the third, again, from our neighbor, Jane. And Jane wrote me to say that she had a piece that it's a UFO to her, an unfinished object. But she wondered if anyone would like to take it over. And it is stunning. This is a chart by Sue Hillis Designs. This is I Shall Wear Purple by Sue Hillis Designs. And it's a fully charted poem. The poem is actually, I did some research on this. The poem is actually titled Warning When I Am Old by a poet named Jenny Joseph. And you're looking at this now. Now, Jane has stitched the poem, all of that back stitching in its entirety. And all that needs to happen is all the stitching around it needs to be completed. This is a fantastic, fantastic poem. When I am an old woman, I shall wear purple with a red hat which doesn't go and doesn't suit me. And I shall spend my pension on brandy and summer gloves and satin sandals and say, we've no money for butter. I shall sit down on the pavement when I'm tired and gobble up samples in shops and press alarm bells and run my stick along the public railings and make up for the sobriety of my youth. I shall go out in my slippers in the rain and pick flowers in other people's gardens and learn to spit. You can wear terrible shirts and grow more fat and eat 3 pounds of sausages at a go, or only bread and pickle for a week, and hoard pens and pencils and beer mats and things in boxes. But now we must have clothes that keep us dry and pay our rent and not swear in the street and set a good example for the children. We must have friends to dinner and read the papers. But maybe I ought to practice a little now, so people who know me are not too shocked and surprised when suddenly I am old and start to wear purple. So if you are interested in adopting that piece and completing it, please use the keyword purple, and Jane will send it directly to you. Now, if you want to be considered for that, please be fine with, upon your winning, you providing me with your address and then me forwarding that on to Jane. A wonderful, wonderful piece, a wonderful poem, a beautiful chart that just needs a home and someone to finish it. This is a little bit of an insert. If you can tell, the lighting is different, but there's one thing that I forgot to mention. And as I was editing this, I wanted to come back to make sure it's very clear. When you, if you are interested in this and you want it and you win it, you're getting the actual piece of stitching. She doesn't have the chart. So you're going to have to, purchase that chart if you don't have it already, but it is still available. So I just want to be clear on that. You're going to get the stitching and that's it. So if you have that chart in your stash and you've not yet begun it, or if you really want it and you want to pick that chart up and go, don't get it before you know that you've won it though. And we'll know that in 2 weeks' time. So that's today's video. I want to thank you all for spending some time with me today. I know that you have so many options for wonderful Flosstube viewing, and the fact that you choose to spend some of that time with me makes me very, very grateful. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much, and I hope you know that. Take care until next time, and have a great couple of weeks of stitching, and until then,